This is my new workshop that I recently finished making. I have spent the past year working on the workshop, and now I'm going to go back to using the workshop. This started off as just a place for forging. It's not something you can do in the house. So it's just the forge, anvil, hammers. Didn't need a whole lot of space because everything else was in an unfinished part of the basement, and it was just fine. So that's where I kept, the drill press, the tool chests, and lots of things. The thing is, the grinders, I got a belt sander and I got a grinder and I started working, and it produced a lot of dust, and that's a problem. Not something you want inside the house. So I moved the grinders out here. Well, if I have the grinders out here, then I need marking tools, I need a vise, and if those are out here, then the other tools I need that require marking tools and a vise, I'm going to need to move out here, or bring those things back in, and things kept moving into the shed. I kept having to go back and forth, and so I decided I needed to move everything into the shed. I also wanted to make some upgrades. I wanted to change to a propane forge instead of a coal forge, and I also wanted to have a sword oven, and I wanted to make things work. So what I did is I took everything out and then put some new things in and put some things back in, and started building. And I built this table, installed more electrical outlets and fans, and more drywall, more concrete fiber flooring, and I moved the tool chests in and many tools in, and I got a new anvil and got new hammers. I made a more compact grinder stand, things like that. And so now that I think I've done everything on my list, there might still be a few more things, but I have fit what I can in the shed, and I think it will be able to do what it will allow me to do what I want to do, to allow me to make the swords that I want to make. And I think they'll be, decent quality. Let's see. So this is my sword oven, 100-pound propane tank that has been cut open, and I bought it empty, so that I didn't have to, same with that one. I bought them new and empty, so that way there wouldn't be any gases that I'd have to worry about, any danger of explosion or something. And then I put high temperature insulation in it, K-wool, Plastix, and I welded some things onto it. These are telescoping tubes with holes in them. I have a pin. I can lift this up, and it will hold swords above and below, because this oven will heat the blade, and the tang can stick out of the top, and this will, you'll see it later, but these are to suspend it above here. And these pipes are for propane burners, and that's what heats the oven, and I think it has worked. That's my quench tank. Ammo can. It's an ammo can. They're great for liquid storage. This is for quenching swords in, and it's nice because it's the right dimensions. It has, it's already liquid tight. You can buy it. It's not a lot of money, and it also has a lid, so you can move it around much more easily because it does have a lid. and don't have to worry about stuff getting into it. Of course, I have a trash can in the room. This is a piece of plywood I use as a ramp to take this out to the patio for use, because I don't plan to use this inside the shed. This is my new anvil. It's designed for bladesmithing. It's heavier, which is better generally. I won't get into why, but it's an improvement. It also has a hardened steel face, so that way it will deform less and it will stay flat and straight for much longer. The stand is bolted together 4x4s, also with liquid nails in between. I was looking into ways to help with the noise. Silicone was recommended, so this piece of plywood is actually a cutout of the anvil, so that there between here and the bottom of the anvil, which is somewhere halfway, there is a thick layer of silicone, and I'm thinking that will help with the noise, or that's what I've heard anyway, and so I thought I'd go ahead and do that. And this is just an extension so that for the oven, just put it on top so that the transition from hot to comparatively cold is more even. And this is my sword clamp. It is a vise mounted on the side of the wall. And so this can open. It does have a quick... I need two hands for that. So once you heat the sword up and quench it in the oil, there's a time where the steel is rearranging and it can bend itself. And you don't want a bent sword. So you can clamp it in between something and keep it straight so that while it's rearranging, it's forced to rearrange in a straight shape. And you want to use wood so that it doesn't cool things unevenly, because realistically you're not going to get full contact along the whole thing, and you don't want spots to cool unevenly, and so wood doesn't make it cool much faster than air, and so doesn't cause problems. Bare metal wood. This is for stiffness. Normally people just use 2x4s and clamps. That wasn't working well for me. I made this because I was having problems with getting straight swords out of the quench and straightening them after tempering, and it just wasn't working. So I thought, let's do this, but let's make a jig specifically for that. And I can put a sword in here after it's been quenched in the oil, and just drop it, tighten it up, and it should help keep the sword straight while it's rearranging, forcing it to stay straight. And hopefully that should fix the problems I've been having. I've been using hardware store hammers for a while. They're not really designed for blacksmithing, but they work. These ones I got recently, they are designed for blacksmithing. The way that they're shaped and their material, and they're optimized where they're made for blacksmithing, and I have a medium-sized hammer and a somewhat small hammer. I can get more later if I find that I need more, but I think these will work just fine for what I'm doing. Then this is my forge, also small propane tank, high temperature insulation with KO wool, or super wool actually, and Castellite 30 ballistics, propane burner, and here's a stock rest so that the sword doesn't, because this isn't much to sit on, so the sword could just fall out or just be leaning, and I don't want that. I want it to be just kind of parallel to the ground. So this helps hold it up, and this helps hold it up. I just took a piece of steel, drilled and tapped a hole in each corner, and bolts and lock nuts. And that way it's adjustable, so I could tune it to the right height. This shelf, 2x4s, plywood, sheet metal. Sheet metal is to protect from the hot metal so that the wood doesn't burn. On the bottom, you store propane. 20-pound tanks are easy to manage, easy to put in the car, easy to refill. And then this is when you're done forging your workpiece. The metal is hot, and you need somewhere to put it. If you put it in water immediately, it will crack at those temperatures. So you need a good place to set it down. The floor is fireproof, but that just doesn't seem quite right. Seems like a bit of a hazard. So I made a space for it here on this shelf. And then, of course, the forge gets warm. The inside is like 1800 degrees. The outside is like 300 degrees. So, you know, that's a bit of a risk of the wood burning, so I covered this in sheet metal as well. There's my grinder. It works well as a grinder. It doesn't have all the fancy attachments like small wheel attachment, but it does have a 10-inch contact wheel, platen, and slack belt. I have some fine belts. I have some coarse ceramic belts, surface conditioning belts. Here are the specifications if you want. And on this side, you put a buffing wheel. I store that in the drawer of the cart. Buffing wheels, buffing compound, wheel rake, and belt cleaner. This is a nut on a screw, and you just unscrew this, put the wheel on with the washers, and screw this back on, and it tightens up. This sheet metal is to make the buffing compound easier to clean because it kind of sprays, it kind of flies, and it hits the wall, and it's much easier to clean off of sheet metal than it is drywall. So there's that. This new grinder stand, also 2x4s, plywood, and it's covered in sheet metal, so that way the dust from grinding and buffing stays on the outside and doesn't get on the inside of the stand with more, which is just more surfaces to clean, and so this blocks it from getting there. This is my water tank. So you dip your sword into the water when it gets hot, because lots of friction with this thing, and this will catch the many of the sparks. So less metal dust on the floor, hopefully less metal dust in the air. And then this outlet block here is on a separate extension cord, so hopefully I can be drawing from 2 different power sources, because the grinder takes a lot of power and the welder takes a lot of power, and so I don't want to have them competing with the lights, or if I have 2 people trying to work in here, I don't want it competing with other machines. Let's see. This is a welding table. I bought it because it's not something you can just make out of 2x4s and plywood. I have a flux core welder, and I have a few clamps, and this is just a place to set your welding handle so that it doesn't just fall off the table. And have a vacuum, because dust is made from the machines. And here's the table for the machines. And this is a bandsaw. These teeth just continuously come down and use it to cut things. This is a straight edge, kind of flat surface. Use it for checking for straightness, use it for maybe putting sandpaper on it and making things straight. And since the machines need the table space, I got a vise that mounts on the side so that it doesn't get in the way. I have the wood that normally goes with this. If you have metal that have teeth, it kind of digs into your workpiece and marks it up. Instead, the wood will be marked up a little bit, and you just replace them now and again. I also added some hardened steel to act as a straight edge for when I'm filing. This has a quick release. I think if I can get this to work with one hand. It's kind of awkward holding the phone and trying to get the quick release to work. Anyway, there's that. This is a belt sander. It's like the belt grinder, but it has a different belt size, and it's half the speed. And so when you want slower belt speed, this is the machine I use. This is the drill press. You drill holes with it. And over here I have some scrap pieces. I have some smaller pieces in these cans here. If I just had them in a pile, it'd be very unorganized and they'd collect dust and it'd be difficult to clean. So the box is very helpful. And then I have my longer pieces up there. I have thread cutting oil. I cut threads now and again, but I also use it for drilling holes. I find it works okay for that. And I have it in this kind of bottle because the bottle that it comes in has a very large opening, and you don't want to just pour a whole lot onto your piece. You just want a few drops. This is great for that. Then I have paper towels for wiping off my workpiece once I've drilled the hole, because there's oil on it. And then there's a WD-40, great for many things. One of them is keeping all this metal free of rust, and paper towels are also good for applying it. I have a temperature gun, sort of, infrared thermometer. Whatever you point at, it will tell you the temperature, up to 2,000 degrees, which is great for the hot metal, because that way I can get the number, rather than just seeing the color or using a magnet to check. This is also a propane torch for when I want a small little flame. That's more powerful than a lighter, but not as powerful as the forge. I have more clamps here on the windowsill, and a wire brush for cleaning the welds. And in the tool chests, I have the angle grinder. I have welding equipment, a helmet, an apron, sleeves, gloves. I also have some propane and MAP gas for the torch. This is measuring and marking tools, tape measure, kind of a scribe, movable square, calipers. There's not much in this drawer at the moment, but it was the buffing wheels and Mara wheels, but I moved that. These are the drill bits, and this is the Dremel. This spins, and you can cut or grind little bits away, and of course all the little bits that go with it. This is just a box we had laying around, and I don't know where we got it. Inside is just a bunch of the bits. They're all together here, so that way they're all spread out in the drawer. And belt sander belts. And more belt sander belts. This is just how it ended up. Angle grinder discs and welding magnets. And personal protective gear. Glasses for, protecting your eyes from, flying sparks or just anything that might come out and hurt your eye, because those things happen in the workshop and they're loud things. So ear protection and gloves, just kind of regular gloves. These are the gloves I use for forging. They're thick welding gloves, but the gloves that I use for actual welding are in there. Wrenches, Allen wrenches, pliers, vice grips, crescent wrench, that kind of thing. Marking tools, kind of miscellaneous, scissors, markers, and center punches. And then files and other tools that are hardened steel with teeth. This got threads. And this was my cutting drawer where I would keep my hacksaw, but I don't really use that anymore because I have the angle grinder and bandsaw. But I have sheet metal shears and little snips there. I have some tape, a coping saw, and if I ever want to revisit, making my welds better, there's the card that came with the welder. Oh, yes, and the cart at the bottom is a face shield and a respirator, and sandpaper, 300 to 2500. Let's see, and on the cart, these things live inside because they have batteries, and so this is ear protection with Bluetooth speakers built in, and so that's nice. And this is a powered respirator, so rather than you having to force the air through the filters, there's there are fans that do it for you, and they take air through the filters and bring it through a tube into your helmet, and you can just breathe normally, and it's very nice. It's also a face shield for eye protection and such. It's very nice. There are many things I would have bought before I got this, but someone wasn't using this anymore, and so they gave it to me. Glad they didn't sell it. So it's very nice to have. And let's see, I also have fans. This is just a fan on the wall. I can take it off. Just some brackets there. This is good for making a breeze. It's more than a breeze, but it's good for keeping cool in the summer, and perhaps directing airflow in case I want to, get cool air coming at me instead of maybe the hot air from the forge. And I also have fans in the walls that take air out of the shed. Theoretically, each one of these fans would replace all the air in the shed every minute or so, I think. Or maybe that's together. It's something like that. But I think realistically they draw air from up here. There are vents in the seams of the roof, and so I imagine they draw some of their air from there, and it doesn't really help replace the air where I'm standing, or it doesn't focus all of its energy on where I'm standing. It draws some of it from places that don't really help. But they still do draw a lot of air, and helps with ventilation, take the burnt gases from the forge out, and the welding fumes. And they're also just great for, moving air for keeping cool in the summer. And I think that's everything. I was having problems with my previous workshop, but now that I've taken it apart and put it back together with new and improved things, I have a good feeling about this. No, what is it? I'm optimistic for the future, I guess. And I'm thinking that I should be able to do my work more efficiently, and from what I've done so far, I have been able to. Yeah, it took a while, and I have to thank my parents for paying for most of it, and my older brother for paying for some of it, and I also paid for some of it. But it's nice. I'm glad that I was able to fit all of this into a 10 by 12 shed and not feel cramped. I think I'll be able to make some good swords. Maybe not the fanciest or not the most well made, but still pretty good. I've been wanting to make a sword for a long time, and I've been trying at it, and I've been getting close. It's just I've been able to do each operation individually, but not all together, and so I'm hoping that this will finally allow me to make a sword in its entirety, and not get stuck on a certain operation. And yeah, so I've done what I wanted to do. I'm going, for the past year, I've been working on the workshop. Now I'm going to move back into working in the workshop. And I hope to get to get my YouTube channel going again, because I haven't been doing that. And, oh yes, about that. At first I had the idea that in case it turns into something big, I'd want to have I liked the idea of having a different name and like a face reveal or something, but realistically, they know how it's going, and even if it does go that way, I'm thinking, people know me, and this is my way of showing them what I'm doing, and so I'm just going to use my name and not worry about any of that. And I'm also not going to worry about being a YouTuber exactly. I'm just going to do very simple things, and just kind of show what I'm doing. And so what I'm going to be doing is, this is a piece of mild steel. I've been practicing forging it, just to get back into things, and after some practice, I'm going to start trying to make an actual sword, and this time I'm pretty sure it will work.